Good morning. Good morning. It's a third line day, and I've come into the woods to do my talk this morning. It's so pretty, and the birds, they're all very spring-like. You can hear them singing, and it's just lovely to hear them. You'll hear them hopefully as we do this. And I've obviously got my special camouflage jacket on today, so the birds don't see me and get disturbed. Didn't think about that, did I? Okay, 25-3, third line day. Everyone always looks forward to a third line day, and it's one of those things that is, you knock a cup over, oh, it must be a third line day. Okay, but what have you learned from that? Is there anything to learn from that? Because being a third line is a voyage of discovery, so it's not just about, oh, I knocked a cup over. It's a little bit of awareness around why did that happen? Is there something I need to be aware of around that? So what can we expect today then? We have a material theme to the third line. That's something that's really important to remember. We live on a third line planet. We live in a material plane, and I'm not going to sing, so I'll let Madonna do that one. So maybe money will be found today, or won, or lost, or there might be something around the material theme that is worth bearing in mind or having some awareness on. Third lines are mutative. As we know, they're always bumping into things and bumping into people, and that's a really important part of their process. It can be very difficult for a third line who is not able to get out into the world and bump into people or bump into new experiences or new ideas, because this is a very important part of their process and how they learn. And then, of course, how we learn from them, because they do a lot of the discovery that we then don't have to do. So this endless journey of discovery for them, their process is really great for us, that trial and error. So they are adaptable. Of course, this is part of their process too, is they bump into things, they've got that built-in airbag, and they adapt to what they've bumped into. And then they might break the bond with it once they've bumped into it, and then go off and do something else, because bonds made and broken is another part of that third line process. So things may not go as planned today. I'm waiting to see what happens in here in the woods. Bump into a bear. Actually not, bears are still at home. Okay. You may discover today a mistake that you made previously, because that's also something that can come to light. It's not just about bumping into your things today. It could be the result of something that you did a while back, but it's only just coming into fruition now. So that's another thing of it. The word mistake is something, it's another of those word prejudice things that Ra talked about quite a lot, and there can be a lot of, especially when third lines are young, they can get into real trouble for making mistakes all the time. And one of the gifts of having a child brought up in human design by human design parents, or parents who are aware of human design at least, is that there is a lot more gentleness around the mistakes and around the fact that these are really important for a third line to go through. And on a third line day, we all get to tap into that, and we all get to give ourselves a little bit of love around things that we might bump into, and that's fine. Nothing wrong with it, nothing wrong with anything. Everything is as it is, and everything is part of the journey. So yeah. The word mistake, okay, I learned something about this. This is really cool. Okay, I was looking at I think I'm part of a mandala journey that a friend of mine, James Alexander, is doing. And Denise Ushkok, I'm not sure if I said your name right, but Denise, she posted this thing on Facebook to say something about the word martyr, because martyr is a keynote again for the third line. And it actually comes from the ancient Greek legal term for witness. So our third lines are here to witness life in all of its forms, and then as a witness they give testimony as to what works and what doesn't. It's really fabulous, really fabulous. So mistake has been distorted over time to be in our minds to mean error, and it's a bad thing rather than just a growth opportunity. Or as one of my friends who has a third line in her profile says, another fucking growth opportunity. So the sun today leaving the second line and transiting into the third line. at 6:07, so it's already happened as I do this, because it's just coming up to 7 o'clock in the UK here. And it's called sensibility, this third line. And there's a lifetime learning that says the recognition that innocent action does not in itself guarantee success. Okay, Ra says that the third line brings a conviction that what it has within it as an essence is inherently correct. And everything feels correct and great until it bumps into something else and discovers that it's not. And then it has to adapt. Third lines are not transpersonal, they're lower trigram. They don't have that social quality. The 2 doesn't, the 1 doesn't. So they're not really equipped to meet the world, really, and to be social and to have those interactions. Ra said when he used to do recordings, he would tell people that life is not about, not recordings, readings, that life is not about being happy or being successful or being anything. It's just about living. And if you try and force yourself into, I've got to be successful, I've got to be happy, then your innocence is going to be lost. And having the sensibility to recognize that and to accept that life happens. And even when we follow our design and we follow our strategy and authority, it's not necessarily about everything being rosy and sweet. It's just not how it plays out. And very often when we look back over life, we find that our greatest learning experiences came through those times when we made mistakes, when something went wrong and we had to adapt and we had to do something different. Or we were pushed off our path, when we were maybe in a time of crisis or conflict. And these are all the things that come through human design, that come through the lessons that we can learn as we tread this path, as our personality crystal experiences consciousness in all its forms. And it's not personal. And that's another thing that I have to remind myself of constantly. It's not personal. Okay, so what else did Ra say? Being innocent doesn't mean life will be sweet. So then we have, as an individual activation, of course, the 25 is in the centering circuit, which is part of individuality. It carries melancholy as a theme. So there's also maybe a misconception that universal love is going to be just fabulous and we'll be happy. And well, not always. And look at love songs. Great love songs often have, just random arm movements, there was a fly. Great love songs often have that melancholic theme to them. And so do love stories on films, and it's part of the genre of it all. The exaltation, the power of the spirit to withstand failure and shock. So the spirit being, because this is the gate of the spirit, the self, and the determination of the self. And we also have shock at the other end of the channel in gate 51. So interesting, the airbag of the third line has its resilience and its adaptation to withstand failure and shock. And he doesn't say an awful lot more about the exaltation, and I haven't found anything in either the Line Companion, the White Book, or the Black Book. There's not much there, but he does talk about the detriment quite a lot, because the detriment is fixed in Pluto. And he says that this is the most devastating detriment of all of the lines, all of the 384 lines. And that is because Pluto is fixed in this detriment. And it takes 256 years for Pluto to transit the mandala, to transit the wheel. And so what that means is that there are generations that don't have this detriment, that is not possible to read this line to anyone. It's almost as though it doesn't exist, because no one's going to have it in their chart. No one is going to be born with this detriment and this energy. So he said about this, he said there are many lines like this in the Ravi Ching, but this is the most devastating one. Pluto won't be in this detriment again until 2080, and this makes it a very profound line for our time, because it indicates that there is a possibility to transcend the trial and error potential of innocence and actually reach its wisdom. And he also said that for him there was no doubt that having the 25 line 3 in his own design is what enabled him to withstand the shock of his encounter with the voice. Oh, that's also really quite interesting, huh? So because there was no Pluto, he said, because there was no detriment here, that there was no possibility of him losing his spirit or his innocence or turning to the dark side with the knowledge that he had been gifted by the voice. The detriment reads, the potential loss of spirit through failure and shock, but it also, the second part of it is the potential loss of innocence through misfortune that in the extreme can manifest from crime to suicide. So it's quite a heavy detriment in many ways, yeah, but it's also a detriment. It's not anything that we have in our experience, and nobody's going to have it in the experience until Pluto comes back into that gate. And then it stays there for quite a while, so yeah, that'll be fun. 46, line 3, the Earth energy. Okay, this is called projection, which is quite an interesting name for a third line, because we actually associate projection usually with either the second line or the fifth line. But this is the third line here, and it is a determination to stay with what brings success. And this is hard for third lines, because third lines break bonds, so having the determination to stay with something maybe goes against the nature of the third line. So that's an interesting thing to play with. And I guess strategy and authority is the only thing that's going to come in there. And if you are staying with something because it's correct for you to do so, you're going to have the experience you need to have. And what Ra said is that what these third lines learn is that the most important thing for them is to stay with their thing, whatever it is. And it's a very practical thing for them. And again, practicality is something that we really associate more with the fifth line. So there's an interesting blend of things going on here, really. But staying in their thing is what will bring them success, not the thing that pulls them out of their experience. So it's actually not what they bump into, but it's that staying in what they're doing. Now the detriment here is in Mars, again, as it was yesterday. And in the second line yesterday, we had the theme of someone who wanted to be treated as a success. It was the prima donna before that success had been realized. Today, in the third line, we have the determination to treat a projected success as a reality. So these are people who enter into something in the right place, in the right time, through that serendipity, that this is the gate of serendipity. And then they get distracted and they get pulled out of their experience. Over time, they realize that there are some people around them who will allow them to generate whatever they need to generate, or manifest whatever they need to manifest. And then they start trying to find those people. Ra said this is when expectation creeps in. And the 46 is in abstract circuitry, which is about the experience and not expectation. So this is going to pull you out of your experience. Ra says the experience is never about what you think it is about. It's only after you've reflected on it later that you might make sense of it. And remember, making sense of it, again, is part of the whole experiential way. We have the experience, it goes through its whole path, it sits in retreat, it's mulled over, we have the confusion over what it really means, and then it drops down eventually, maybe into the ajna, and we make sense of it, and then it comes down. And so it's that whole circuit is all about making sense of experience, nothing to do with an expectation. It's never what you think about. So watch out today. See how distracted you get, and see if people are pulling you out of your experience, and whether or not that is correct for you. Or are you actually able to focus and concentrate on whatever it is that you are setting yourself down to do today? It's the determination of the self. Where are you determining that? Where are you actually going to sit in and dig in and not allow yourself to get bumped out of your experience? The moon. The moon is in the gate of leadership still. We talked about that yesterday until 10:40 this morning. And again, remember, all my timings are in GMT until the clocks change very confusingly. It takes me a while to get my timings right, and I'm late or early for every meeting I have for about a week. Anyway, then it goes into gate 33 at 10:40 this morning, and this is the gate of privacy. This is the gate of retreat, so the moon has done its leadership thing. It's taken us through that quality, and now we have time to just sit with it. Okay, so what did all that mean? What was that about? We have some time to just maybe sit with that. The 31 and the 33 are kind of mirrors of each other, so they both come off the throat, and one side, one the other, and then you've got individuality in the middle. So it's one is logical, one is abstract. So they have a sort of I've forgotten my words. They have a sort of, okay, the end. So you might find yourself withdrawing a little bit today. Maybe I should go and withdraw now and be a bit reflective. This is the energy that the 33 brings to us. And then this evening at 21:55, the moon moves into gate 7. So this is actually the harmonic of the 31, which is we're in now. So it's kind of, that would be that channel of leadership, that channel of the alpha connecting the G to the throat. But this is just the 7. And this is the role of the self in interaction, and it's sometimes called the power behind the throne. So it's that the G center gives direction, you know, it's part of a Sphinx cross, this gate. So leadership, the harmonic said that. So this is the potential for being influential. You know, the power behind the throne is the one that's whispering quietly into the ear of the leader and influencing behind the scenes, not a public role necessarily. They leave that up to that throat gate of the 31. And sometimes, you know, being the hidden voice, you can be even more influential because nobody is, sorry, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm nearly finished, I promise. So today we still have the channel of initiation, which is the 25:51, and the sun gate there hooking up with Mercury and the North nodes in 51. So have you been invited into anything new? Have you been initiated into anything new? The 5125 is a projector channel. So have you been recognized for anything and invited in, or have you been pushed into something? Because there's also that jumping into the void kind of energy with this channel. Maybe you've been shocked into something out of your normal experience, or something out of your normal experience. I don't know how else to say that. Okay, so I'm going to finish my walk in the woods. It's really claggy. It's been raining so much. It's really claggy. I have got my my beautiful boots on. Oh, I need to pull my leg up. It didn't work, did it? These are my boots. Yeah, you don't need to see my boots. I'm going for my walk now, so I will see you on a 4th line day, and have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. Much love. Take care. Bye bye now.